Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dark and Stormy Nights. And we're recording this episode on a Dark and Stormy Night. That is a Friday the 13th with a full moon.
Yes, and very high winds.
All of this is 100% true.
Currently.
So I'm a little scared. So today, what are we doing, Odin? Give us the minutes.
Well, we're on episode 33, chapter 21, your chapter.
Mine. Oh shit.
Yes.
That's okay. I wrote a couple words.
And I guess you want a recap of
Yeah, where were we? Where are we going?
Tyr and I had done.
Well, we did the Rumble at the Rift, part 1 and 2.
Right.
Yes.
And then
And
Odin
then
did his chapter in the kind of the aftermath of closing the rift.
What was that called? Oh yeah, Bring Me to Life.
yes.
What was I calling it? I was calling it something else.
I don't remember.
Nor do I.
I don't know.
Oh well. It's a loss for the
Sounds
ages.
like neither one was all that catchy. Damn it.
Yeah, that was the one where I had strongly suggested we brought Robert back.
But you didn't finish. You never finish anything, do you? Like you always.
I did
start.
the transition.
Yeah. And you
Well,
leave the
he
emotional shit to
ended
somebody
with
else.
breathing, I think, right?
Yes.
Like you keep doing in the microphone.
The body is quite alive.
The body is alive. Interesting. Why do I have a feeling this is going to get thrown back on me again?
Does it? We'll find out
Yeah.
in the next episode.
Well, actually, yeah, no, it will
The
be because
Dark and Stormy Nights.
Very nice.
because Loki's chapter is not about that at all.
What? My chapter is actually really dark, and it's not funny in the least. So
I feel like you guys are not holding up your side
really
of
aren't.
the comedy.
You know what?
And then my chapters end up just like cheesy little, like,
I don't
they're
ri-
not even that funny.
I don't mind writing
I
emotional
would
stuff.
really look. I would really like some funny interjections here. So like I said, this is all rough draft. I really would like a few fun. Like I thought about this one section here where I thought about like tormenting him with Dale's face, but I'm not sure. Like But so I made the whole thing really dark, but I think a couple splashes of comedy would really
Like
set it
maybe
off.
we can use Desmond's arrogance and sort of slip something in there.
Okay.
Maybe.
Now,
But-
I know that I've had some unfunny, dark, and maybe off-tone chapters for what is intended to be a comedy, but not my specialty. But at any rate, point being, I think that if anybody's should be somewhat humorless and dark, it should be the Nightmare chapter.
I mean, quite possibly.
Well, okay, so it's
Unless there's some
look.
that belongs there.
This
I don't know.
chapter is a little all over the place, and some of that is because of the way the demon is tormenting him. Okay, it's doing a lot in a very short period of time. We have to keep kind of think about like how a dream or a nightmare works, where you forget that you're dreaming or in a nightmare, because if you were any bit
or where
lucid,
you're at, what
Yeah.
you're doing, who you are.
Yeah,
And-
sometimes they're like disjointed or
and
nonsensical.
even when the scenes change, you don't remember that you're sleeping. It's like
Right.
if you were awake, you'd be like, none of this is possible. You
Right.
know.
Well, sometimes you remember that you're dreaming, but then you forget that you remembered that, and you go back to not being aware of that.
Right. So yeah, even if you could control for a second, you lose it
Yeah.
again. So that's what we. But yes, I'm looking for the input. I'm looking for how can we make this funny in pieces while maintaining the darkness that it brings. We want the darkness.
I think that we'll probably have to hear the tone in order to know if there's places where funny can go in.
Well, why don't I read the first couple pages?
Okay.
I apologize for my reading ability. Once again, I do not have a good prescription for glasses
I was like, what?
or drugs. And
I'm just going to get a giant magnifying glass to throw in front of your laptop.
well, I've actually blown up the words, but it doesn't actually help as much as you'd think because it's still, even blown up, they're still kind of fuzzy.
Really?
So, yeah.
I just thought you meant you had to scroll a lot. Like, you got 3 letters. What's the rest of the word?
No, that is the fact. Yes, that is the case. So I apologize ahead of time. But you've heard this enough times to know it's awful when I read. So here we go. You ready?
Have fun.
You ready?
We're ready.
Sure.
You always do this. Just go.
All right. The world goes the world goes dark like black ink poured into a glass of water. The sound of the world around is muffled unevenly. For some unknown reason, Jennifer's voice is clear as day, while Caleb and Bob's voices are muffled. Another voice is fairly clear but distant, and most definitely closing in. It echoes words in a foreign tongue, like an out-of-time chorus. It is eerie and whining, like an out-of-tune tubular bell. Through all the commotion, wood-soled shoes and gravel can be heard getting closer. The stench of fish and rot fill the air. Desmond finds his nausea overwhelming to the point of stomach convulsions as the figure pierces the dense, inky fog. The being's facial features are obscure, as if vibrating. However, enough of the being is recognizable to strike terror into Desmond's heart. Just as Desmond pieces together the image of the demon that haunted his nightmares throughout his early years, the floor drops out. The feeling you get when suddenly falling overtakes Desmond. Desmond is flattened as he lands hard on the ground. The earth remains unstable, making it impossible for him to gain his footing. Desmond is nauseated by the constant erratic motion. No pattern is ever established. As he is about to call for Caleb, he is brought to heaving. The horse simply hovers near, observing him. Desmond's minions go about fighting and defending themselves, as though they can't see or hear him at all. Desmond continues to struggle against this environment to regain control. He thinks to himself, if you could just regain control long enough to activate the staff, I could lay out the nightmare in front of me and possibly end this. The beast had no idea how I'd grown in power since we had last met, and it was time for a reckoning. As if the thought threw the beast off guard, the world went still enough for Desmond to regain control for only a moment, but that moment was long enough for Desmond to do what he needed. He leveled the staff at the beast. The eyes of the staff lit up with power and fired a bolt of energy directly into its chest. The energy welled and splashed upon impact, which at first seemed to cause the beast to recoil, but a moment later seems to energize it instead. 1,000 laughs from 1,000 different voices seems to fill his head. Was this beast fucking with him? Was this a sick game to this being? Was it just toying with him? What was the most disturbing part of this? The laughter? The beast? Or the fact that Desmond was sure that the laughter was constructed of everyone who had ever laughed at him in his entire life? The beast was in his head, and Desmond was now sure of it. The creature gets closer and closer to Desmond. He can almost feel a cold breath as it begins to undulate and pulse and bloat. The creature starts to swell and grow, simultaneously every bit of it uneven, edematous. Its skin begins to bubble and blister and boil, all the while maintaining its horrifying laughter. Its black skin and beady red eyes begin to crack, and after all what seems like an eternity of this torture, the creature explodes with a loud bang, like an overfilled balloon, that the shards of the creature dissipate into black bats with red eyes, and then moths of the same coloration. When his vision is cleared, Desmond finds himself standing in a field. It is a beautiful, serene day. The sun is shining. The breeze is nice. It all seems very familiar. Desmond looks around, trying to gain his bearings. As he does, he catches a glimpse of himself and realizes that he is no longer in his normal body, or at least not the one he is used to, the one he last inhabited. He was small, like a young boy, and dressed like one as well. Short pants and a sweater, black loafers, white socks, a sling bag. Panic sets in as Desmond recognizes the outfit as his boarding school uniform. He peers off in the distance He peers off in the distance, needing direction, until he spots the ominous castle, which confirms his fears. He spun about to discover he was surrounded by his childhood bullies and other youth sent to this hellhole by their parents who wished not to raise them. One boy remembered in particular, who seemed to take a liking to tormenting Desmond especially, Ollie Wilfred, who took the lead, swinging down hard with a sock with a bar of soap in the end. The first hit struck Desmond on the top of his head, instantly dizzying him. The kids jeered and cheered each other on. It was a cacophony of angry child shouts, all but Ollie, who possessed the beast's creepy voice. Ollie spoke specifically to Desmond. Remember this? Remember this, Dizzy Desi? Remember when we beat you senseless? Remember when you would tell the headmaster and the headmaster would do nothing because my father was more powerful than your father? Whack, another strike. Remember when we would drag your bed outside in the middle of the night and leave you in the field? Laughter continued, along with another strike. Whack, remember when? Okay, I'm going to pause there. We'll pick up the other part of that in a little bit.
Okay. That was pretty good, and I definitely do not see any place where humor would fit in there.
So, it was a little dark?
I mean, it is.
Unless it's there is a place for villainous funny. You know, like when you're watching a movie and the villain says something really dark and screwed up, and it shouldn't be funny, but it just is.
Yeah.
I could see that working in. I don't know where, but I mean, I could see that kind of humor working. But just out of curiosity, you were describing the tentacle beast, and you said edematous. Are you saying is dermis or
Edematous is like swelling, like blood pooling under the skin.
Is
Causing
this a medical term?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Edema is when you're.
Yeah, that I know. So
it's not necessarily just blood, but yeah, it starts to bloat.
Okay.
So, should I avoid using medical terminology?
It would just be a word that I'd be pushing my finger on. Is all.
I think that, yeah, you can grab the rest of the context. It's fine to have words that maybe somebody's going to look
one.
up. As long as it's not like every other word you have to look up.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too wordy, was I?
No.
No.
I liked it. It was very descriptive. I think that you painted the picture extremely well.
My
you
typos got me. I'll admit to that. The reason
Well,
I
do want to know, is it dark? Is it sunset? Is it,
well, I think that was pretty well described.
Did he? I don't recall.
Yeah, Sunny Field.
Yeah.
When the scene changes, you can tell that
Right.
it's
Okay, so in the other scene, he was just like floating, or
I told you.
the world goes dark.
right.
Like ink spilled into a glass of water.
Did he seem to be in the same space that he was standing in the battlefield?
I described the whole battlefield and the battle that was going on.
Right, but then it went dark.
And I described the battle still going on
Okay.
as he thought about calling to Caleb and Jennifer.
All right, then it's all me. Never mind.
It is all you.
Well, I was reading along, so I think that it's easier to read it. You know?
Yeah.
For me, like, if I read it, I can follow the story, but when you guys are just speaking it and I don't have a copy on my side, it's much harder for me. But I thought that was really good. I think the imagery definitely painted the scene that you were trying to paint. I think that it was really good.
You mean I did okay?
You did very well.
Yay. I still think my reading was pretty bad. I'm going to have to actually go back and fix some of that in post.
Well, see, then you're not supposed to mention it, so nobody would know because you edited it to cut out
It wasn't that
the
bad.
trip.
Yeah, I don't mind being real. I saved you guys like a several second pause by the time you're listening to this.
You're welcome.
So, yeah. It takes me hours to do that. Movie magic.
I thought it was very good, and it definitely gives you a lot of sympathy for Desmond.
Okay.
Which is good for this chapter, but I don't know where we're taking him, after this book. So
Right. Well, ow. My lip actually got caught on the microphone.
But every villain is just a hero whose story hasn't been told, right?
Well, maybe. I mean, yeah, everybody's a hero from their own angle, and that's definitely true
he
of
definitely
Desmond.
thinks so.
Desmond definitely believes he's saving the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, is he at a boarding school?
I said
Yes.
almost that specifically. Yes.
Well, he was at a school. I didn't know if it was... Okay.
No, he said boarding school that
Okay.
their parents send them away to.
But I see. I don't know. I feel like we should try and interject some kind of humor in there, even if it's a little, like.
Well, like I
wink
said,
or
I think it would
nod
come
to
from
something.
the villains in this scenario. Something funny they said. It wouldn't be on his end. It wouldn't be anything that lightens the mood. It would be something that makes the mood even darker.
Yeah, I threw Dizzy Desi in there. I have no idea what to make fun of him with.
You don't know how to be a bully.
Yeah, I'm not a good bully. I mean, that's not completely true, but
Yeah, I don't buy that. Yeah, you just have to. You have to get your head in that space.
I hurt the ones I love.
I honestly don't know. I'm terrible at being mean.
Yeah,
I mean, it probably has something to do with his physical attributes.
I felt
it wouldn't
like
be the quality of his clothes.
I felt like that was a bad insult. I'm like Dizzy Desi. Ugh. Like as I was writing
something
it,
about his parents, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be a place filled.
Well, no, but I did kind of.
Well, he did say
Yeah,
that
no,
his
I got
dad
that.
wasn't
because
more
my dad's more powerful than your
Yeah.
dad. I think that would definitely get under your skin to know that they're never going to do anything about the bullying because
you're lower on the social.
Yeah,
rungs.
that sucks, and I know that's a thing that happens. You know.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah.
So the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the squeaky wheel that has a more powerful parent definitely gets more grease. You know.
I don't know. It's just how the system has always been. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if having it pointed out to you would be any more annoying than living it.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, no, if it's
Oh
pointed
no,
out
I
to
think
me,
especially in a boarding school for those who are well off, that would be the insult that's rubbed in constantly.
Yeah, especially if the person that's
because that's what's most important to those snobby little shits.
and the person that's bullying you is the child of the boss of your father or something like that, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
Political
Ooh, even
scandal.
better would be, do you remember the scene when we had him walking through the House of Lords?
right.
Even better would be if the deputy speaker was this kid who's fucking with him.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean,
But we made him older,
when it comes
so
to
maybe not.
people in position of power and wealth, some sort of political scandal, cheating wives, that kind of thing, that kind of news got around. And if the kids were old enough to any degree to actually have heard this second, third hand, that is definitely something to be throwing around at each other.
Also, did we get an idea of how old he is here? Is this like teenagers
I'm
or is this
assuming
like
10, but I don't know.
boys?
I didn't give a specific, but he is wearing the short pants, which was
Is that
I think more
Translate?
indicative of like
Children?
junior high or younger,
okay?
because I think they still wore.
I mean,
long
that's a
pants
big
even in
difference though,
summer.
because like junior high kids can be vicious, but like younger, I feel like it is silly insults like Dizzy Dizzy and
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know. But I also
They
feel
still
like
giggle
that
at
if
like
you
penis,
developed,
you know.
if you developed an insult in like grade school and you're still with the same group of kids in junior high, high school, I think some of that stuff sticks with you.
Some
even if
does
it's stupid,
stick.
You
Yeah.
know? So.
Only as long as it keeps working.
Yeah, they
Well,
also
and I
come
feel
up
like-
with bigger and
I
better.
do feel like Desmond is the kind of person that even if something was stupid or silly, it would stick with him, you know, because he doesn't let things go. you
Sure.
know? That's what makes him kind of who he is he can't let things go.
Right, and it could also be part of why his personality ends up being, you know, where he like demands respect of everybody, you know,
Right,
down the
right.
line, which is a huge personality flaw that he has.
Ooh, there's something I'd like to do.
Oh. Oh.
Well, we eventually gave him the coin, and he gets
Oh.
a wand and all this other stuff down the line, and
A wand?
or
Oh.
whatever. I think it's cane and staff, whatever we're calling it. I was going with cane. It just seemed a little more disguisable and distinguished. But point being is that he eventually gets rid of a boogeyman that's been tormenting him,
I
right?
described his cane
Yes.
in previous
Yeah, I
chapters
called it a cane as well,
Well,
but
you
I've
also
heard other
described
people
the
call it
boogeyman
staff.
here.
because it transforms.
Okay, I wasn't aware.
It's a coiled cobra cane that
I-
uncoils to a full staff.
I don't recall that, but okay.
Well, now you know, and knowing's half the battle.
Yes. And
It took everything I had not to start singing right there.
anyways. What I was trying to say is, what if instead of just driving the boogeyman off, he actually gains a little bit of control of it?
Well, didn't you describe his battle with the boogeyman here?
I do.
I just thought it'd be kind of fun if he starts
Why don't you stay tuned for
Unleashes it
more
on his-
dark and stormy nights? We'll be back after the break. Bye.
Meanwhile, deep within the depths of Castle Numbskull, our intrepid heroes explore the idea of being entertaining for once. Back to the action!
All All right, so I'm going to keep talking because Odin really wants to say something right now.
I was
This
just
is
trying to
going
complete my
irritate him, so I'm just
thoughts.
going to keep saying stuff. La
Fine.
la 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 la.
Forget it. You don't deserve it now.
Go ahead. What do you want?
All I was going to say was I thought it might be interesting as part of this descent to evil is that if instead of pushing the demon away, the boogeyman, he actually commanded it and turned it on his tormentors. And that becomes his slippery slope, kind of, I don't know.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah.
I feel like that's maybe a little out of character. We're using this boogeyman as like the catalyst that turned Desmond into who he is. Like he's been tormented by this thing, and it's Talbot's help that turns Desmond into basically the person that he is.
Right, and I'm saying is whatever that
coin,
coin, the tool, whatever that allowed him to get rid of the thing. What if it gave him control of the thing?
Well, there's more story to come. I
Okay.
can read my next 2 pages, and it still won't get you where you want to go, but we'll get you closer.
It's just a thought.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
We would love to hear it.
Here you go, guys. All right.
God.
I'm preparing. Okay. Desmond finally threw a punch. The bully scattered like smoke, and with it the scenery. It was now dark where Desmond was standing. Excuse me. He looked to his right. He could make out outlines of something, but he wasn't sure what it was. He looked to his left, and he could see light shining from around the door. Desmond crept his way to the door. He let his hands caress the large wooden door. He could make out the texture and the shape of the door. He could feel a hum coming from the other side. Desmond could hear chanting from inside the room. His father's book club again. Oh no, Desmond thought. The only thing he hated worse than boarding school was being home with his father, alone. Desmond tried to sneak away down the dark hallway, but was quickly caught upon stepping on a squeaky floorboard. The door to the study flew open, whacking the wall as it did. Blinded by the light that poured into the hall, all Desmond could see was a long arm reach from inside the room. Before Desmond could squirm out of the way, the hand had him from around his collar and dragged him into the room. Desmond never did make out the source of the arm. Instead, he was wrapped upside the head with a bulbous end of a walking stick. "Are you spying, boy?" Desmond's father grumbled at him. "My weak, pathetic son, everyone." Desmond's father now spoke to the crowd of people whose faces he could not make out. But all were clad in fancy dress and strange masks depicting demonic things the other side of the uncanny divide. All in attendance wore the same ring. Desmond did not remember this detail until now, highlighted in the specific nightmare. Desmond's father snatched him by the ear and dragged him to a small dark closet where he tossed him, partially so dragged him to a small dark closet where he tossed him. He slammed the door, and Desmond crumbled to the ground as his father slammed the door shut and locked it. Strange noises emanated from the room, climaxing. Desmond's father
noises.
snatched him by the ear and dragged him to a small dark closet where he tossed him, and Desmond slammed into the back of it and crumbled to the ground as his father slammed the door shut and locked it. Strange noises emanated from in the room, climaxing in a clutter of chants and industrial noises. It seemed as though immediately as it was done, Desmond's father unlocked his prison and dragged him out of the room by his hair, dumping him to the ground in front of his mother, who sat in an armchair, watching the entire scene unapprovingly and emotionless, never saying a word. Desmond's father flung a slurry of insults, mostly aimed at his emasculine build and his mediocre accomplishments, as he bent him over his desk and caned to the back of his thighs. Desmond howled in pain, and in a moment of strength realized he was in a nightmare. And this is not reality. He pulled the sword-shaped letter opener from his father's desk and swung around on the apparition that was beating him. between swats. He plunged the letter opener into the apparition's oblique, and the entire nightmare faded to black. Not even knowing where he was, Desmond sat down upon a bench before he knew the bench was even there. He was now sitting outside of his father's office at the House of Lords. Muffled talking comes from within the office. Desmond, just taking a moment to get his bearings, he looks around. He sees down the long, straight hallway to either direction that seem to disappear before they end. As he looks right, he can hear the sound of heels on tile coming towards him from the left. As he looked to the source of the sound, he could see a man wearing a priest's robes almost right next to him already. Desmond looked up to see the man who stood next to him now. He could not make out his features or the details of the man's face, which was obscured by shadows and darkness. The light glinted off of his eyes only to produce a subtle red glow, which was rather unnerving when one thought about it. However, the man spoke in gentle and calm tones. "You are Desmond, are you not?" "Yes, sir." "How did you know?" "I know your father. I've seen your picture upon his desk." "I see, sir. Have you been waiting here alone?" "All day, sir." "How can this be?" "My father forgot that I was coming home from boarding school this week, so I walked here from the train station, and I wait." The priest pats Desmond on the head and gives him a gift, a token. Nobody has given Desmond anything for a long time. Nobody has been kind to Desmond in a long time. Desmond holds the gift close and keeps it in his pocket. The days tick away. Desmond tosses and turns in his bed. Smoke and red light bleeds from beneath Desmond's bed. Desmond tosses and turns. Desmond sits up in his bed. Before him hovers a thin nightmare creature. Its boxy body and wiry arms bob about in the air. Its red eyes glow steadily, piercing Desmond's soul. It begins to terrorize Desmond every night. Every day fades together with worry of every night. It is a repeat performance. Desmond goes to his father only to get laughed at. Desmond goes to his mother only to get blown off. Desmond can't wait to go back to boarding school. And when that day finally comes, Desmond is ready. He never thought he would prefer to face his bullies than to be at home. Desmond packs his bags and hops on the train like he does every season. He arrives in boarding school, exhausted, not having slept in a week. Okay, I'll stop there. I made a lot of typos there. That was difficult. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, even I lost my place trying to read along there.
Yeah, I made a lot of typos.
I've proofread mine, and still, when I go to actually read it out loud,
Some of these
there's
are
some sort of a
really
grammatical thing that tripped me up so much I had to invent a new sentence on the fly just to get past it.
Yeah, some of these were really bad. Yeah, no, I had to reconstruct a couple. Then I was like, I don't know what I meant here. But unfortunately,
I know what I meant, but I don't know what I wrote.
Well, because I was doing so much work all at the same time, a lot of this was voice to text, and like I was telling you before, my voice to text is really bad, and you would think Google would be better at this. So.
Yeah, I feel like my last phone was a little bit better with voice to text
Now,
than my new one is.
Is oblique the stomach muscles?
It is the side muscle, the
Okay.
love handles for some people.
Not a weightlifter. I know I've heard of it.
Did I do it again? Big medical word.
Not really. Most people would probably get that. Just not me.
Most people with abs.
Yeah, I was going to say anybody who works out knows that one.
Yeah. I once had sort of abs. Where it's like a line and stuff.
I had abs once. I have ab. The CD. It's wonderful.
I think you did a good job of building in some anger and frustration in him. I like the way the words he put in his father. However, I felt that he has to react violently.
He tried to stab him.
No. That was him manifesting it through his childhood self. I'm talking historical him would have fought back against the bullies or did something underhanded. He would have. He can't get it in all directions.
Well,
I don't necessarily think that's true.
It doesn't matter because this is a nightmare and the demon is directing him where he wants him to be.
We already know some of
I'm
this
just saying
is
if
different.
it's based on a history, I think at some point he would have lashed out.
Some of this is already showing as different from how it is because it is a nightmare and it's not actually what happened to him.
Right.
But the other thing is, like, I think you're looking at the character as he is now and how he would react.
No, I'm talking about as a kid. If you're getting at home and you're getting at school, you're going to take it out on somebody.
I think these are the things that
You're
turn him
going
into the
to.
person that he is.
I'm saying you cannot keep that in. It's going to come out.
I felt that the demon wants him helpless, and regardless of his wins, the demon's not going to show him those wins.
Oh, that's
Right,
fair. No, that's
absolutely.
fair.
You know,
Well, then that was the point I was making. I was talking about his history, not what the demon's doing.
Right.
So I was just trying to nail down his history because from there the demon's going to edit.
right? This is demonically imposed helplessness.
And also, like, he did have a win in defeating the nightmare that was haunting him, but obviously the demon's not going to show him that, right? Like, he's using the thing that tormented him, regardless of the fact that he overall.
Well, I'm okay. We're gonna get to that part next.
Uh-huh.
So in the next section, and I do show it, but I take it from him.
Oh, interesting.
So, I feel like maybe, and I don't know if you've ever done this. If a lie has been, if something in your past has been shown to you, and this is a psychological thing. I've heard that it can be done, and
Where you can convince somebody that something happened that never happened.
or happen differently. And it's
This is
gaslighting.
100% true.
Well,
And I actually learned about this in my psychology courses, that they have convinced people, and it's things like you would know. Like the experiment
Sure.
Right.
that I learned about was actually that they convinced these people that they were on a hot air balloon ride. At an age when you would freaking remember being on a hot air balloon. And like at first people were like, no, I never was on a hot air balloon. But by the end of this like interview,
Right.
the people started to remember something that never happened.
Right. Yeah. You can brainwash people into shit.
Absolutely. And it's crazy.
well,
So-
no, there was I think it was early '80s. There was a fad with psychiatry, where, if you had certain weird dreams or beliefs or whatever, like you were abducted by aliens or
Right.
something, they were like, well, okay, that probably was a self-conscious dealing with some kind of molestation or something. So then they would do some sort of like regressive thing or hypnosis or something, and they would try to dig that out. But in doing so, they were asking leading questions and actually convince people they were being molested when they
Well,
weren't.
and
I've
that's
seen that
exactly
as
it.
well.
So-
That you can't you're basically planting ideas when you try to do those regressions and
See,
stuff
the
like
interesting
that.
thing about memory is every time that you bring up a memory, you actually are not loading a save file. Your brain actually, like the whole lie that you only use 10% of your brain at a time, I mean,
Right.
at once, or
No,
we only
yeah,
use
you're right.
10%.
It's ridiculous,
We
yeah.
tend to use between 5 and 12, as much as 20 at a single time, but
No.
we use the whole brain.
Yeah. We use the whole brain.
But
No,
that's what
at
I'm
a
trying to
time,
explain.
though, yeah.
I'm talking at a time. And
No, you use the whole brain. But what you're not doing is you're not like
actively.
full voltage. You know.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
actively,
talking about. I'm
right.
talking about like on an MRI, you see it lit up. Anyway, my point is this: memory, much as like certain functions, like like language, they think is like this one slice, is really not just in that one place. Any number of activities, but especially memory, tends to pull from multiple locations. Could be 5 to 8, could be more, could be less. But the point is that every time that you bring up a memory, you're actually constructing it out of constituent pieces. And
Right.
by doing that, once you're done with that memory, you're kind of like resaving it. And the mere process of recalling the memory and saving it back
Brings it
changes
up differently. Well, the other thing
And
is
every time you
that
do it, you've changed it
memory is also colored by perception. And so truly, like, who you are as a person changes throughout your life, and truly your perception of that memory can continue to change throughout your life as well.
more. I mean, that's true, but like things that are attached with it at the moment of experience, like emotion, are actually recorded with the memory. So they'll say like,
Sure they
the
are.
more you bring something up, the more you deal with it, the more you'll get over it. That's not exactly true.
I don't think that's true at
Because
all.
the emotion is actually recorded as part of that memory. So when you bring it back up, you can be just as upset as the first time it happened.
Now imagine that I can take your memories and play them back in, say, a holographic chamber, like a holodeck on Star Trek, right? But then I can alter little bits of it. So, like, your childhood was like you remember it, but this is there that wasn't there before.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it going to make you question if it was there? Or something's gone that you thought was there,
Yeah, I think it's
You're talking about-
absolutely enough to at least make you question.
Right.
Changing a root memory and,
that
fundamentally
little
changing a
that
personality.
That doubt is all you need.
Yeah, that's
and
all
that's
you need is
the
doubt.
point.
Right.
That's all you need is that little sliver of doubt.
The thing
So-
is, though, this is a little late in his life completely change his identity, it's more likely to create two selves, an
Well,
unconscious
it's not
like
meant
We're not
former
trying
him
to change
and
not
a
meant
new
to do
personality.
any of
identity.
that. What the demon is trying to do is to confuse him enough to. In fact, we're working on this in the game system that we got with psychic attack and stuff like that.
Sure.
Where the demon is making him question his reality enough to seize control of the mind. And
All he has to do is
Soften him
weaken
up
his
with blows.
defenses.
right.
Yeah, I
So,
get it.
So yeah, if he can get the id and the ego in conflict and stuff like that, then he can.
And attacking your most vulnerable part of your life, I mean, that's the best way to weaken somebody.
It's an interesting thing. All right.
I liked it. I think it's definitely interesting.
So have we
I
found
also-
any place where you can put
I was going to
anything
say,
funny
that's
yet?
just what I was going to say. I also think there is absolutely zero places to slip humor in here.
Well, again, darkly funny. So if you want the dad to say something else cutting or horrible, but would be kind of
I
funny
don't
out of context.
think at a point that he's caning a child, anybody's going to find it funny.
I mean,
I don't know.
Okay,
I-
this is terrible, and I think anybody who's had an abusive mother or an aloof mother, like I've got Desmond's mother in this, would probably hate it. But like having her say, I thought about having her say something while he's getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, why not?
Like
Make it worse.
That's terrible. Isn't she supposed to
that's
be a
what I'm
victim of
saying.
his
Yeah, no, she's
also abused?
yeah, she's also abused. Yeah.
I just don't.
Because I
think
feel
so.
like what you just witnessed is, of course, his father conducting a ritual. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, but she's just sitting there watching him
Yeah,
and his
'cause
friends in masks.
She's been Stepfordized.
Like, are they all wearing robes? Like, is there an orgy? What's happening?
I said fancy dress.
Why would there be an orgy?
Why not?
Because they're rich people. They do weird things.
There's always an orgy.
Is there?
I mean, maybe that's later with the cake. I don't know.
I mean, his kid's there, so I'm just feeling like
He
maybe
wasn't supposed
not-
to be. He
maybe
came
not
home
an orgy
early.
that day.
He threw him in the closet, like R.
That
Kelly.
makes it okay.
But did he get
What?
the letter from Hogwarts?
Didn't you ever hear the R. Kelly song about being in the closet?
You
Is
mean
that
the
a
South Park
metaphor?
episode?
No.
Yeah,
obviously
no, that's a
not.
whole thing.
Was that an actual song?
Yeah, there's a whole thing about it.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not a fan, so.
Fucking R. Kelly's a weirdo. What do you want? So, but we could make mention of being in the closet like R. Kelly. Or is that okay? This brings up a valid question. R. Kelly is nowadays. This is the Victorian era. Can we not mention something from nowadays?
I don't think you can reference it that way.
Okay, fair enough. I'll just accept it as a temporal problem.
I think that a narrator can get away with it if he does it all the way through, and it's the narrator's tongue-in-cheek. You can't come out of nowhere and make a modern reference.
Okay, I guess it's fair. Whatever. I mean, it's not like R. Kelly was that important, but it would have been funny, you know.
I think that we need to give up on adding funny into this chapter.
I know it's really dark, and I kind of apologize, but I don't know. I was hoping I could make up for it not being funny with trying to write something fairly dark and creepy and stuff. Something maybe get into your head a little bit. I'm good with horror, you know.
Yeah, you guys have both had some dark shit in here.
So
Which
I mean,
is why I'm saying, like, by comparison,
Which-
my chapters where I'm trying to be funny are completely cheesy.
Which
Next
is
to
funny
your
'cause
very dark chapters.
I don't write horror, so
I don't write comedy. Why do you keep ditching me?
I
with
think
this?
I don't write combat, apparently, which I'm going to have to work
See,
on.
I love combat. I could write a whole book of combat. So
I hate writing fight scenes, but I write a lot of them.
I do. I get bored with it. It's so technical and layered, and yet you got to keep it moving.
Yeah. I don't follow any of the rules with fighting scenes either.
Are there rules?
I've been told a lot that that you should keep your sentences short and choppy to make it feel like the action is moving
Oh, that's
quickly.
interesting. A
Yeah.
cadence.
I
like that.
don't find that those aren't my favorite fight scenes.
I
The
also
ones that
like-
I've seen actually have pretty lengthy descriptions and
Sort
See,
of an onomatopoeia, but with cadence.
I also like to go back and forth between strikes and conversation. I think that fighters like to shit talk.
banter and stuff.
Unless, and the occasions they don't, it is one move to the next move to the next move. Only like little slow motion pauses of like getting from one point to another.
you
know?
talk over a crumpled corpse. You don't talk in combat. That's how you get hit.
So well, you
It
only
depends.
you only shit talk with somebody else if they're your equal.
Yeah, I was gonna
Or-
say if you're
or far
fighting
beneath.
for your very
Yeah,
life,
if you're
like
if
keep
you're
your mouth
teaching
shut.
them, but if you're like taking on like 30 people or whatever, you're not bullshitting through that.
Or even one skilled component.
Oh, for sure.
Opponent.
So
Unless you're Deadpool.
no, one skilled opponent.
Well,
you're
Deadpool's immortal.
That's true. Ooh,
one-
stabbed through the heart.
Two skilled people have a conversation while they're fighting.
Yeah, I think if you're
I
on
think the
equal
person
footing.
who doesn't talk is going to win.
No, but I mean, if you're like in a ring, like fighting in a competition kind of thing, like
Right.
a little bit of shit talking. Come on.
Oh yeah, you got to see the episode of Lucifer where Lucifer and Amenadiel are going at it in a cage match,
Both
Ooh, I
immortal.
didn't see that one.
and they're because he's kind of like interviewing him as they're doing it or whatever. they're-
I've completely forgotten this episode. I've seen every
So-
one.
So in my
By the way, guys, if you're listening, I was not impressed with the last season. I know you got a new one coming
It
out,
was okay.
and I hope you fix it. But the first,
Oh, really? They're coming back again?
there's another one coming out.
What the
and
hell?
I'm hoping.
Spoiler warning.
I'm hoping they save it, but they did a really bad job with the last season. I
I
was
haven't
not
watched
happy.
it yet.
It felt like a wrap up.
They made Chloe an asshole. Personally thinking, and I wasn't her biggest
She was
fan.
never
it
my
was all
favorite
rushed
character.
because
No,
they wanted
yeah.
to squeeze it all in one
You
season.
you could make it the Lucifer and Lopez show, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that in my book that I just published, there's a fighting scene where there's a lot of like back and forth bullshitting, where
Oh.
she's basically questioning the guy
Well,
in
don't
a
get me wrong.
completely dirty fight.
I was
but-
talking about reality. For writing or movies, of course, conversation.
oh.
is
Yeah, it
fun.
makes it more fun.
No. We just hit on the right thing. Mazikeen. Watch Mazikeen fight and describe that shit.
She's pretty awesome.
She is the great. They could have just a show
Again,
about Mazikeen.
she's a power level
Basically, yeah.
beyond.
So yeah.
I was talking about a real world fights. Yeah, don't talk.
All right.
Act.
Enough talking.
Or
We'll be
just
back-
better yet, don't get in fights.
we'll
Well,
be-
that's the ideal, but I mean, it doesn't always work that way.
Okay.
Maybe we won't.
Go ahead.
We're good. All right. We'll be back in a little bit with the next. Yeah.
Segment.
Bye.
You know what I'd like to do on a dark and stormy night? Yeah, that's right. But right after that, I'd like to turn to my favorite podcast. We are happy to join you in your post-coital bliss. Enjoy.
Oh my. And go. Oh, I set that in the air.
Oh wait, before we get started, are we gonna do the?
Oh
book
my God!
review?
Yeah, do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. This was my bad. I screwed up.
Oh, is this the book review?
I'm sorry, guys. I screwed up our order, so we're going to do. Somebody save me.
Emma's Fury by Linda Rainier.
Yes. We are posting a book review this week, which is actually a few weeks ago in podcast time. And so, yeah, the book review that I did this week was a dark paranormal fantasy about Furies.
Furies, like Furies and Fates.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting.
Like the, they're like kind of like the balance keepers between the human world and the paranormal.
Really?
Are they the original ones going back to ancient Greece, or?
So there's actually a prologue that kind of goes through like the ancient times and how those Furies kind of they're referenced and then they're killed off. Or
Wait a minute. So this is in modern day?
Yeah, well, it's not like this world.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So then, like centuries later, the Furies are reborn through women who have, gone through tragic deaths. And so the main character Emma has obviously had a dangerous, tragic death, and she's reborn as a Fury after that point.
I see. That sounds interesting.
It's very interesting. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed that one. So basically, the Furies are led by an authoritarian group of elders, basically, and they're not really allowed any kind of frivolous human behavior. Or there's no relationships or anything like that. Like they're very strict about just being forces of justice, kind of thing. And anytime
relate.
there's
I can relate.
so anytime any kind of Fury strays, they're harshly punished by these elders. And so nobody wants to disobey them, obviously. But there's starts to be some strange deaths happening, and so the main character basically starts to question the authority and everything around her, and she kind of risks their ire to look into this and find the truth. And it turns out that she's actually got to go through quite a bit to fix things and protect the people she cares about.
Cool. Where can I get a copy?
Well, you can go to thedarkandstormynights.vigvisiermedia.com and you can check out the book review that we have posted there, and the links to purchase are at the bottom of the review.
Awesome.
Just quick question: did you ever watch Dead Like Me?
I think did that have what's his name?
Oh yes,
The Grim Reaper.
No.
No.
Ego Montoya. You killed my
Yes,
father.
yes.
Yeah.
I love him. Mandy Patinkin. I love him.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, did they die and come back to life as a human, or are they undead, or?
She's like, they have like supernatural powers.
Okay, but they're still on the earthly plane,
I
whatever
think-
that planet's called.
Yes,
I'm just
they interact
saying,
with humans
I
and
think you should go read it.
paranormal.
I'm mildly
you
intrigued.
should read it.
I'm
It's a
just
really
asking.
good book. The author actually got back to me today and said she's working on a sequel, so I can't wait for that one to come out.
Hey.
Yep, pretty exciting.
Okay. Are we ready to get back into this?
Yeah.
I have more reading.
Are you ready to get back into it?
I have more than 2 pages left.
2 whole pages.
I know it's a lot of reading for me. I think I'm doing okay. I've made some big mistakes, but I think I'm doing pretty good.
All right.
No, this is you guys don't know how hard it is. I can't get a good pair of glasses for me. It's very difficult for me to get a prescription that stays my prescription. My vision changes so much. I can't stick on one. So
I had that issue when I was pregnant.
but I am not pregnant. I swear.
Maybe get someone like
last
adjustable
time
lenses,
last time that happened, I had slept near. It was not good.
like binoculars.
He walked all over that. You see this shit? You see what I deal with Odin? God damn it.
I don't know how you can be so blind that you can mistake a horse for
Steak.
I'm just going to let it go.
Haunches. All right.
I don't know what just happened, but I'm out.
His child slept near.
All right.
And if I was to follow that up to say my mounts, that'd be just a whole nother conversation we don't need to do.
Gross. He's gross.
So back to the book.
All right.
Let's go ahead and read that now.
All right. The nightmare is like a flash forward of Desmond's life during these times. Every day is exactly the same. Desmond is exhausted and cracking. Going back to school only stops the demon for a time. Soon the demon appears to him here. His nightmare has followed him. Desmond's lack of sleep has affected him in strange ways. His already mediocre performance begins to slip. He's passing out in class. He is insolent with teachers and classmates alike. The only positive to come of this whole situation is that the lack of care leads him to defend himself against his bully, laying him flat in front of everyone in the school. However, this action has consequences of getting Desmond sent home, and furthermore, it has consequences of getting Desmond's father in trouble. Desmond returns home to be beaten mercilessly. At his wit's end, Desmond seeks out the only man who's ever been kind to him. He begins to stake out his father's office, waiting for the priest to return, and eventually his perseverance pays off, and he sees the priest once again. Desmond stops him in the hallway after the priest has a meeting with his father. He explains to the priest that he was the only person who's ever been kind to him, and that is why he's coming to him. He tells the priest that he's at his wit's end and that he was haunted by a monster. Nobody else believes him or cares. The priest explains that he cares and that he believes him. He tells him to meet him here again the next day, and he will have a solution for them. Desmond meets the priest and the next day at the House of Lords. He waits an hour. The priest is late. When the priest arrives, he is huffing and out of breath. He has something wrapped in brown butcher paper, which he hands to Desmond. I warn you, boy, use this carefully, the priest tells him. I went through much trouble to get this for you, but I wanted to be sure to help you. I wanted to be sure and not fail you. Desmond nods, happily shaking a little. Thank you, sir. I can't tell you how much this means to me. Use it well, my son. If I can ever be of counsel from here on, please let me know. But do me a favor, and do not tell anybody you know that you have this book. And should anybody find out you have this book, do not let them know where you got it. Yes, sir, Desmond exclaims. Now go, the priest tells him. Desmond shakes his head yes vigorously. He runs off home and straight to his room. Once there, he cracks the book open and immediately begins reading every single page. He pulls out a notebook and takes as many notes as he can scribble down. Night comes, and with it his tormentor. Desmond is ready and waiting. He does not believe that he will have any effect on the creature his first night, but it will be an experiment. He will get good notes from this. The creature materializes in front of him. Desmond begins to chant. The spell calls for something personal, something Desmond really cares about. The only thing Desmond can think of is the token given to him by the priest. Desmond pulls it from his breast pocket and holds it aloft and begins to chant the ancient Sumerian words. A beam of energy juts out of the token, striking the demon in the chest, seemingly paralyzing the beast. The energy pulse then swells. The demon starts to crumble into shards. The shards are attracted into the token, and the demon is dismantled piece by piece to be kept inside the token. As the ritual is done, Desmond's pride swells. Desmond feels powerful. He looks down for a moment at the book, but as he looks back up, the demon is there once again. It begins to laugh at him in the voice of every person who ever tormented him once again. Pawn, it says, as it changes form into his bully. Pawn, it says, as it changes form into his father. Pawn, it says, as it changes form into his mother. Pawn, it says, as it changes form into the priest. Pawn, it says, as it changes into his headmaster. Pawn, it says, as it changes into every person who has ever treated him poorly. Pawn, it says, as it takes the form of Desmond as an adult. You have wasted this life, the demon says to Desmond in every voice he's ever heard. Never fear, child. You may live it over again and again in this nightmare, and I will live your life the way it should have been, with power and dignity. The demon, now in Desmond's form, walks to the door, leaves the room, and closes and locks the door behind him. Child Desmond runs to the door, shaking the handle as if it would help to open it, but he is trapped in here. He can hear the demon's laughter from beyond the door. Desmond wakes up on the table suddenly, sitting straight up, taking in a deep breath. Before him, Jennifer stands near the door with the sacred book. Caleb stands across the room, looking at her mid-conversation. Apparently, Roberta sits in a chair near the kitchen with her leg up on the table. All of them look at Desmond at the same time. Desmond looks to the group. We have much work to do. Okay, and that's the end.
I thought that was really good. Once again, no place for humor, but it's really good.
I thought, like I said, I was thinking about slipping in one of the forms the demon takes as Dale. I thought that might be funny, but I don't know.
Doesn't really fit into him being a pawn unless it makes him into the Dale. That would be more apt.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
Although technically, doesn't it fit into the pawn thing? Desmond gave all his power to a pig.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's the group's energy.
To summon this thing that has stolen his life.
Yeah, he created a werepig that.
Do I make it clear enough
probably
that it
more
is not Desmond controlling Desmond's body at this point?
I think so.
Does it matter?
I mean, he's locked in a room and then he wakes up. I think if nothing else,
I think that
further
the
chapters
dream,
would demonstrate that.
Yeah,
just
the
from
dream
the
makes it
actions.
clear enough, and I think that once your reader keeps reading, they'll pick it up from there.
How was it all?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
Cool. Maybe I'll start writing horror instead.
Yeah, I've found more comfort in that as well.
So,
I didn't think it was a niche I'd really want to go down. Mostly because I hate horror movies. Most of them are so poorly written.
The stuff that gets made is like tropey and boring. But that's what people want in horror, I think. All right,
It's kind of fun to write.
Hollywood thinks people
Yeah, but
want.
it doesn't really have to be like horror. I mean, write your dark sci-fi fantasy stuff, you know?
I
Like you
guess.
can
Well,
have
I do have that prelude.
You just turned... Yeah, there you go.
Hello? I just touched it. No, it
Oh.
didn't even switch it off, so that was weird.
The Angler? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So,
You need to finish it already?
then I've got the other one too. So yeah, I've got a couple of horrors planned, I guess, that I didn't intend to be. I feel
But
like
they're still fantasy.
I feel like they're more dark sci-fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the Angler could be a fun one. I don't know if it's gonna be that long though.
It doesn't need to be long.
So I think it's gonna be a short story and a book of short stories maybe. So But I guess it gives me problems. I don't know. I didn't know if it felt like I did as well as I did. But once I read it all back, I actually did kind of like what I wrote. So, and
It was really good.
you
I
know
liked
me,
it a
I'm
lot.
not good at liking what I write. So,
Yeah.
because I delete entire books.
No, I think this was the perfect chapter for you.
So,
Yeah, my only thought is that if he took notice that Jennifer was trying to steal the book, he probably wouldn't even care. Because what the hell does he need it for?
well, he doesn't want Jennifer to leave simply because he needs pawns. And Jennifer has no idea it's not Desmond yet.
I don't know what he would need him for, but yeah, okay.
Well, he needs souls, right?
The machine. He needs
Oh, all right.
help building the machine.
He needs fuel.
Well, he needs laborers.
Yeah, and then they can jump in the pot.
I mean,
Exactly.
they won't have a choice at that point. Once the machine's activated, it's just going to start ripping souls out.
Right.
So, okay.
Could you look in
now
there for me?
Wasn't that the kind of the plot of the Scooby-Doo movie where it was ripping souls?
Sadly. What was that, part 2, the something island or some crap?
They just steal Indiana Jones? Kaliba. Wasn't that what that was?
Basically, yes.
So,
Except they had to bring Scrappy-Doo into it.
I always hated Scrappy Doo.
Although I did enjoy
I
the
felt
fact
like-
that they actually had the smoking van reference.
Yeah, because I feel like Scrappy Doo is the meth head cousin of Scooby, and they should just kick him to the curb already. You know, it's just like, dude,
Well,
clean up your act.
He's the point where you knew they jumped the shark. Now,
It's terrible.
younger people won't realize because all your cartoons suck. But back in the day, when they were actually halfway entertaining
I
and written
resent
better,
that. That is not true at all.
oh no, a lot of them do suck.
Oh, there
lot
are
of
a
them
lot of bad
suck.
ones, but I mean, Gravity Falls, Star versus the Forces of Evil, Adventure Time. There's a lot of good cartoons.
Okay, but I mean, like, look at '90s Batman and look at today's. It's tragic.
Oh no, '90s Batman. Well, and '90s X-Men.
Is that the animated series?
pinnacle?
Yes.
Pinnacle of cartoons.
Yes, I love
And
that
even
one.
Batman Beyond that followed that. That was great. But I mean, this new stuff, the animation styles are just lazy and cheap and
Some of them,
computer and
yes.
bad. It's just.
But I don't know. There's still some good ones, and yeah, I mean, you can't count them all.
all right,
There's
but the
still
point
a lot
is,
of good ones
I've
out
caught a few episodes just from switching through stations of that new Scooby-Doo, and it's just
There's a new
unwatchable.
Scooby-Doo?
It's
No.
unwatchable.
there. Yeah, no.
It's unwatchable.
I
It's
didn't
garbage.
even know there
Just
was a new
re-air the
Scooby-Doo.
old stuff. The old
That's
stuff
what
was
I'm
so
saying.
good. I mean, they had Kiss on some episodes.
I think the
and-
problem is,
Right,
Remember
they
that?
did. I do remember that.
Yeah. So Batman with the Scooby Doo team.
Oh,
I
you
don't
mean
know if
the
I remember that.
1966 Batman?
So no. Well, it wasn't the '90s Batman. I think it was an '80s Batman kind of thing. But yeah, but Batman and Robin and Scooby. That's what I'm saying. The crossovers were great.
Oh my God, the Harlem Globetrotters and
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they had some great crossovers.
Lauren Hardy.
Like, and you
and-
just don't have that anymore in cartoons. Like, you know, I mean, not that it was necessary, and it's not like every episode of Scooby Doo wasn't exactly like every other episode of Scooby Doo.
Right?
It's old Men
Yeah.
Witherspoon.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
out to the
We're
amusement
just gonna
park.
change who it is and the setting, and it's the same exact story over and over again.
Well, I love how they
In
always
fact,
think it's a real
An
ghost
entire
until the
half
last
of the
5 minutes.
dialogue is the exact same dialogue. You know?
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, just watch.
Oh, it's a formula.
Ghost. I mean, every
Right.
freaking time. You know, let's drag that out. But as a kid, that shit was great.
Yeah.
So
I just love how they thinly veiled stoners in that show.
right. They were big eaters. They weren't stoners. We like sandwiches.
No. Bunch of hippies traveling around the landscape without any, parental guidance or jobs or, flowers painted on the van. No, I'm sure. Yeah, they were just good, clean, upstanding citizens.
I don't know. They weren't your typical hippies, though. I mean, now Shag and Scoop maybe, but the others were like almost yuppies. You know, too much
Say
sweater.
what you will. Those guys were able to be stoners and solve crimes, so they're a step ahead of everybody else. Just
I mean,
saying.
I think it makes it easy to see a ghost when you're high as hell.
Well, it certainly makes
Whatever.
it easier to wear a dickie.
A
The-
dickie?
You mean an ascot?
Yes.
An ascot.
Whatever.
That ascot
You had to
makes
be
you
an
look
ass.
like an asshole.
Oh God.
Don't wear an ascot.
So
For
off topic.
real. Okay, so was that? I mean, you think this is good? You think we're in the right direction?
I thought it was really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we
So
have any
wait, what's-
questions? No place to put any humor, huh?
No, probably not, but that's okay.
I'm sorry, guys. I brought down the mood.
So the next chapter after this Or the next episode after this is another plotting.
Yep, we're gonna plot a little bit, plan a little bit, talk to you guys, and see where this is all gonna go from here. I got a couple ideas. Odin has a couple ideas, and we'll make this all work.
All right, that sounds cool.
All right, so where can they find us again? It's the Dark Stormy K1 on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark and Stormy Nights.bigvasirmedia.com. The Dark and Stormy Nights.podbean.com. That's where you can listen to us. We have a YouTube channel. You can go there and check us out. We're only putting up a couple episodes a week to catch up. We're still way behind. So if you want to listen to most current stuff, listen to us on Podbean.
Don't forget to check out the VegVasirMedia.com site to find other podcasts and authors, and there's book listings. If you're an author, you can submit your book to be reviewed.
And while you're there, go check out Tier's author page and buy her book.
Thank you.
Anything else we gotta say? Oh yeah, book submissions. Do not forget. Yeah, check out. Go sign up to get reviewed.
VegVasirMedia.com, and then the book review submissions page.
Yeah. So we have quite a few people pending. So bear with us. We will get to you.
Right. In the meantime, you can read and review the books that are posted there as well.
Yeah, help us out. Let's build up. Let's do this together. Let's get everybody reviewed. So, all right, we'll talk to you next time.